что еле макар прыгал. Истинные спрашивали, что я стуста. Истинные скалы созданы дать. Истинные скалы дома.
What's up, YouTube? CFX here, back with another video. And today we're going to go over our previous trades that we did take last week. But this time we're going to do it a little bit different. So let's go ahead and hop straight into it. For this video, I am going to do the same type of setup that I did on the last video, where I went through all of the trades that I went through with a singular pair. So I'm going to go over NAS first and go over all the trades that I took last week on NAS. So for the first setup, as you guys can see, this is when the market first opened up, and these blue lines right here that I marked up are higher lows. So as the market was opening up, or actually before the market opened up, I pretty much saw that the market was creating higher lows as it went on. Now, these are very, very, very short candlesticks, but it's still creating higher lows. So obviously this market is getting ready to buy. Now, I wasn't going to buy into it yet until I saw that it broke this structure right here. So once it had broke structure, that was when I bought into NAS and took this trade up for a buy. But I wasn't going to buy into it until it had broke the previous high, which is right here. So that was the highest that it had made before the market had opened. But I knew that once it broke there, that it was going to continue to go up. And as you guys can see, we did end up winning that trade. It was a great win. And I'm gonna be honest, we took a lot of great wins on NAS this week, but this was the first one. And next trade that we took was a sale on the 31st. So the next day, let's go over. All right, so you guys can kind of see it already. This is my Fibonacci from, I'm gonna get rid of this real quick. But that was just for the retracement that we did catch a buy on. And I'm gonna show you guys the setup for that one. So we ended up catching a sale on NAS, and pretty much the same thing, honestly. We were waiting for another break of structure, which ended up happening right here. So it was going, you know, it was in upward momentum, had a lot of bullish momentum going up. Then we started to get this bearish, but I didn't want to buy into it until it broke below this structure right here. And that was when I did buy into it. And I'm gonna show you guys this. So whenever a market goes into like a big buy area, when you see very long candlesticks like this, it eventually, let me get rid of this. So it eventually has to fill this area back in, right? It has to fill this area back in. And you mainly see this with indices, honestly. That's when you mainly see this, especially NAS. You see it a lot with NAS, where it comes back and fill the area in. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, like right here. This long candlestick, I was expecting it to come back in and fill in this candlestick if you guys saw my previous video. But it sold down, just did not come back to this area. But it sold down just a little bit. But it did come back and do it with this bullish momentum. So it came back, filled this area in, and then bought back up. But I knew that it was going to continue to sell right until it got to this point. So I did hop in on the retracement. I want to say it was this candlestick, because I thought that it was going to respect this support right here and then go back up. But once I saw that it was again touching this line, bounced off of it, and then sold down on this candlestick, that was when I hopped in on the close of this candlestick, and we caught that sale all the way to here. And you guys can even, I set an alert for it. I had set an alert for it to let me know when I had hit my TP. and it went exactly as planned. Great sell off that we were able to catch, and caught some pretty good pips off of it. Caught some really nice pips off of that. So that was the sale on Nas. Then we ended up catching another sale that same day on 15. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we ended up hopping in again on this same exact candlestick. So we just hopped in on this candlestick again and then sold it down some more. So once I saw it was continue to sell, that was when I hopped in and collected some more profits from it. We sold it from 558 all the way down to 543. So, yep, pulled out a little bit early, but it's fine on that one. Could have collected a little bit more profits. But hey, profit is profit. You got to be happy with it. Got to be happy with it. So, trying to see if I took any more on Nas, and we did. So, like I told you guys before, this area right here. So, this became my demand area. I think I just moved this. I did. But this became my demand area now because I saw that when it came I cannot talk. I saw when it came back down to this level, the buyers flexed their power and made this market buy back up. So I had set my Fibonacci. From here, so from the swing low to the swing high, and then my stop loss was down here, and my entry level was right here. So I can make a separate video showing you guys how to use the Fibonacci, but once it had retraced back down to my entry level, we did get a little bit of a pullback, like a little bit more of a pullback, but overall it did not hit our stop loss. It did not go outside of our demand zone, and we ended up able to catch some more pips. I bought this at 586 to 604. So we caught some very nice pips on that. So yep, I bought it at 586 and I let it smack my TP all the way to 604. And we popped 2 entries on that trade because I was very confident on that one, and we ended up smacking TP. So that was a great example of an area coming back down to the demand. And even though it did not like fully enter our demand zone, we know that this is a great buy area. Like regardless, we know that this is a buy area. So once you saw that it was wicking out, then that's a confirmation that, okay, buyers are still in control in this area. So let me buy in, and that's what we did. We caught some nice pips. Again, happens exact same spot. Happened in the exact same spot. You could have caught, actually, I want to say that about came to the same exact entry point, but again, happened right here. It wicked out. Guys, once you see that the market is wicking out at a supply or a demand, majority of the time, that means that either the sellers or the buyers are still in control in that area. Now, you do want to be careful because it can end up breaking through that supply and demand and creating more. Like all traders say, the market don't just move up and down, it moves in waves. It goes levels. It create different levels every single day. So you don't want to continue to just use the same supply and demand. Me personally, I use my supply and demand on like 2 retouches. If I get 2 retouches, then I know that's a strong area, and I mainly try to enter on this second one. But we actually ended up missing this one, but we were able to catch this one. But yeah, if you see that, like right here, this was a nice supply area. So This would have been my supply area right here. And what did the market do? It came into it, sold off. Came into it. This a very wicked candle, but what did it do? It sold all the way down to here. You still could have entered up here and sold it all the way down, because I am on an hour time frame. So this wick right here all happened in an hour. But where did it close? It closed down here. You guys let me know if you would like to catch an entry at 677 and sell it all the way down to where this candlestick closed, which is about it looked like about 614. But that was a great sell-off. And that was some nice pips to catch right there. So that's pretty much how the supply and demand work. And that's how I was able to capitalize off of it with Nas this week and collect my profit from it. The next setup that I do want to go over is gold. We had a pretty back and forth week on gold. I want to say we ended up breaking even on gold, but definitely some key learning points from it. So again, we ended up taking a buy on gold right here on this candlestick. Did hop in a little bit too early, and we ended up wicking out. As you guys can see, we wicked out, hit our stop loss, and we lost a good bit of profit. But we hopped in again because I saw that it was it went outside of my demand zone, but it did not break and close outside of it. So a break and close is when a candlestick closes outside of your zone and another candlestick closes outside of your zone. So that's when you get a break and close. But it went outside of it and then went right back into place. Like, let me zoom in. So it wicked out, but it did not break and close outside of my demand zone. So basically another candlestick did not form outside of my demand zone. All of my candlesticks were right above my demand zone, or the rest of them. So that was a great confirmation that this was still a good area. Now I do want to show you guys this because same principle as Nas. Before I did not have these trend lines set up, but again, filling back in the areas. So we have these long candlesticks right here showing bullish momentum. And then what did the market come back and do? It came back and filled it in right here midway. Also, let me show you guys this. This was a resistance at one point. So basically our resistance became our support, and it filled in that area right there. So that was why I was so confident that this market was going to buy back up. Even though the first trade did end up hitting stop loss, it did buy back up. It bought back up, and we ended up smashing TP on that second buy entry. So that was the setup for gold. Great setup, honestly. Just hopped in a little bit too early, so that was the learning point from that trade right there. But it was a great trade overall. Now, on to the next setup that we ended up taking on gold. It was further along in the week. So it was on the 2nd. So let's go to September the 2nd. All right, so we ended up taking a buy. Boom. Came back into my demand area. This is where we bought back in, and we ended up let me show you guys on a smaller time frame so you can see. All right, so like I said, it came back into my demand area, and we entered on this candlestick because I wanted to make sure that it was not going to do anything crazy and stop me out. But we did enter on this candlestick, and we caught this long candlestick up. I pulled out at the same point where I got this line marked up at. I pulled out right here, but it was a great trade, and I was honestly thinking that it was going to continue to sell off. So we caught that buy up, and then once I saw that it was selling again at the same point like it did last time, I'll show you guys. So, like I said, I saw right here, it bought up, we smashed TP, then it sold off after that same point and sold it back down all the way back to the demand area. That was what I was hoping was going to happen again, but it kind of happened again, but it happened a little bit later. So I didn't hop in until this candlestick where I saw that it was selling or wanted to sell, and we ended up getting spiked out right here. So we ended up getting spiked out, and then I was, kind of seeing fishy candlesticks, but it did end up selling off. I didn't hop in again, so I just took that L, got spiked out, and just went on by my day, honestly. But it did end up going in the direction that we was hoping for. It's just happened a little bit later than we wanted to. I did have a very tight stop loss because I entered at 18.12, and I didn't want to really I wouldn't say I was trading scary, but I don't know. I don't know why I had such a tight stop loss. But now I know, widen that gap a little bit, man. It's all right. It's all right. But we did end up breaking even for the week pretty much on gold. And it was a decent week. As you guys can see right here, for my setup, I did miss this first sale, which I was kind of disappointed on because I had it marked up. But I'm going to show you guys the setup and what I was looking for. So I saw two trends. We had a downtrend, we had an uptrend. So basically what I was looking for was a break of structure either way, going in any direction. Because I knew if it broke down here, then it was going to sell off, which it did. And I knew that if it broke above our triangle, then it was going to continue to buy back up. But right here, as you guys can see, it broke, it sold off a little bit, then it retraced. And what did it do? It retraced all the way back up to our trend line right here, and then sold back down. So that's the perfect setup. That's exactly what you want to see when you guys are marking up triangles like this. Wedges, which some people call them. But that was my setup for gold this week and all the trades that I took. All right, so now on to the next setup. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I'm very disappointed in this one. I'm not gonna lie, bro. This setup right here is another one. Oh my God. I'm just go through it. So USD JPY. First, let me show y'all the full setup, man. Let me show y'all the full setup first. So I go through, I'm not gonna lie, I mark up all my charts on a daily time frame to get my major setups that I want to go for. Because with regular currency pairs, I guess you could say I'm a swing trader, honestly. From intraday to swing trader. So I try to get big setups, go for long setups, or something I feel like I can catch a great amount of pips on. So this setup right here, as you guys can see, got two trends going on, pretty much just like how gold was. So let's go back to the 15-minute, and I'm gonna show you guys what happened, why it happened, and just, yeah. So USD JPY. So you guys saw the uptrend that we were on, and I did enter on that trade on this candlestick. So Primarily had entered in for a buy because I knew that this market was going to buy up. And it's like as soon as I entered into the trade, because once I saw this candlestick, I was like, oh, bet. It's respecting my trend line. It's respecting my trend line. This is perfect. So it bought up. I was like, okay, I'm going to enter on this candlestick. Then I guess that just knew when I entered into the trade because it immediately sold back down from the moment I entered the trade because I always like to enter at a close of a candlestick. So once I get my confirmation candlestick, that is when I enter the trade. So I entered in, and then you guys see this wick right here. It was in profit for a little bit, and then it sold down for like the next hour. So I'm like, okay, well, what is going on here? Because I see that I'm down a little bit. So once I come up with scenarios and reasons why I may close out of a trade. So first scenario, if it closed outside or if it break and close outside of my trend line, that was going to be the primary reason that I end up closing out of this trade early. So once it had broke and closed outside of my trend line right here, that was when I ended up. Okay, so that was when I ended up closing out and I got in for a sale. Once this candlestick it was on this candlestick. So at the beginning of this candlestick, that was when I hopped in for the sale. I was like, okay, it just broke below my trend line. It closed, and I feel like this is about to continue on a downtrend. Now, this is kind of my mistake because I wasn't fully paying attention. I did have a support marked up right here. So I had a support marked up along with my trend line. And as you guys can see, it broke below my trend line, but it did not break below my support. And if I would have been paying attention to that, then I would have obviously held that and waited until I went back into profit. Or I would have maximized profits and popped another big entry down here and bought this all the way back up. But I was not paying attention. That was an error on my part. So definitely a learning point. I got the right markups. I believe I let my emotions get in the way of that a little bit because I didn't analyze enough on where the market could possibly head towards. And I just closed my trade and got in for a sale as soon as I saw it break below my trend line. But as you guys can see, I hopped in for a sale, and then what did it do? Again, as soon as I hop in the trade, it goes in the opposite direction. So I'm like, bro, what is going on here? So it ended up again hitting my stop loss, and I took 2 L's back to back. I should have did vice versa. I should have hopped in for a sale right here and then hopped in for a buy right here. But hey, it is what it is. Learning point. We definitely learned from that. And the reason I'm mainly upset with this trade, or not, I'm not even going to really say upset. I hate to say the word upset, but I hopped in on the 31st. So boom, I hopped in. As you guys can see, it was right here. And then this thing bought all the way up to up here, literally to the top of my wedge. So yeah, in 2 days, I would have definitely smacked TP just holding that trade for 2 days. And we would have made a lot of money on that trade. But it is what it is. Learning lesson. It did close outside of it here, but again, what did it do? It respected our support and it's buying back up. It did not close below the support. So unless it closed outside of my trend line and below my support, that's when I'm going to hop in for a sale. But until I get a clear direction on where this trade wants to go, then that's when I'm going to trigger and take that trade. Now, another very, very, very similar setup with NZD-CHL. Again, so this one right here is more so on a parallel trend. Now, this one it wasn't really like I hopped in for a sale too early or a buy. This one was just one where it was out of profit for a long time. So I ended up closing out of it. And this is the setup that I'm in now. But before, let me look at my entry point on NZD CHL. So I hopped in at 64.48. So I hopped in right here. So I hopped in for a buy. I was seeing some confirmation that this market was going to continue to buy back up. It, for one, crossed above my EMA, and I was getting like a lot of bullish momentum. It's actually almost like the same pattern as this one, but I don't know why. I just felt like it was going to continue to buy back up. And this wick right here, remember I am on a daily time frame, so it was out of profit for a very long time, and it ended up same thing, closed out early, and it ended up continuing to buy back up. So that was my setup for NZD CHL, but I wish I would have saw this on this day right here, because man, from here all the way up to here, that is a great trade, an amazing trade at that. But yeah, that was NZD CHL. Now on to the net setup that I did end up taking. All right, so now on to the net setup, Gbp Chl. So as you guys can see, I do have two demands set up. I have what I like to call a secondary demand and a primary. So my secondary demand, I felt like it was going to respect us some more. Mainly because we were finally starting to get our bullish momentum. We got this candlestick and it retouched a couple times. Now this is where I did enter into it. I entered on the third retouch, mainly because I missed the second one. And once I saw like, okay, it keeps wicking out here. It keeps wicking out. So I bought in right here. And like I said, with regular currency pairs, I like to swing them or intraday. So I ended up going in profit a little bit. We was in profit for a good little bit, and then it ended up turning around and hitting our stop loss because, like I said, I took it on this demand. So I set my stop loss just a little bit outside of here. So I set my stop loss a little bit outside of my secondary demand, and it ended up hitting that. But it came to my primary, and that is when we saw all of the bullish momentum that we were expecting to see on our first one. But ended up hitting our stop loss, and that was a loss on that trade. I did not enter on a primary, mainly because I really wasn't paying attention. I want to say I was at work around this time. I just looked at my MetaTrader, saw that it hit my stop loss. It is what it is. Go on by today. But I did not enter again. And if I was looking, I definitely would have entered on this candlestick right here once we got this bullish momentum. And that would have been a great trade to hop into. Or I would have hopped in on the retouch right here just to get extra confirmation. But this right here actually ended up becoming a demand area right here. So how I like to mark up my demands, I'm gonna show you guys right now. So demands and supply areas are basically where liquidation is in the market. Liquidation is where sellers like to sell and where buyers like to buy. So basically where the sellers flex their power and where the buyers flex their power. So the buyers are flexing their power right here because look at this. It wicked out a lot right here in this area, right? So when I'm marking up my demand area or my supply, I like to start at the bottom of the wick. So I make my demand stretch from the bottom of the lower wick, and the top of my demand ends at the opening of where the buyers took control or where the sellers took control if I'm marking up my supply. So basically on the candlestick where the buyers took control, that is where the top of my demand area is. And right here, as you guys can see, this is where the buyers took control on this candlestick, because we have a huge buy up right here. So that is where the buyers took control. And as you guys can see, it respects that area every time it comes into it. So that demand and supply area is valid as long as it does not close outside of those two areas. And if it respects that area every time it enters it. So I like to set up zones more so than exact entry points now, because you have an area to enter in instead of a specific entry point. And most of the time you're going to miss those entry points that you're looking to get in at. So I'd rather have an area where I can enter in and know I'm still in the clear to enter at, more so than a specific entry point, because most of the time it's not either going to come back down to that entry point, or it's going to go a little bit below it, a little bit above it, and you're going to be in fear of, okay, this may not go in the direction that I wanted to go in. But if you mark up a zone and it respects this huge zone right here, then you have a lot of space to maneuver in. You have a lot of space to analyze to see where the market is going to go to. So that's why I like to set up supply and demand areas, more so than exact entry points. But as you guys can see, ended up coming in this area, and that is when it did buy up. But I did end up taking a lesson on Gbp Chl. All right, so the next setup that we do have is USD CHF, and this is the same principle as my last trade, supply and demand. But this time we're going off our supply. Look, I'm gonna be honest. Supply and demand works very, very, very well with foreign exchange pairs. So that's really what I like to use them with. And they're good with indices and gold and stuff like that as well. But they really, really, really work well with regular Forex pairs. So this time I went off my supply. As you guys can see, this is my supply area. And it came into my zone. I saw that it was wicking out. Guys, I'm gonna be honest. Once you get wicks like these, especially 2 or 3 in a row like this, then that's the confirmation that the market is going to go in the direction that you're looking for it to go in. So once I saw these 3 candlesticks, I entered into the trade right here on the opening of this candlestick, as you guys can see, and ended up going in our direction. And now it did smack TP, but I did close out up here. I closed out up here because I saw that it was respecting this area of support. And again, once I saw that it was wicking out, it was showing me that this market was getting ready to buy back up in this area, because this is where buyers are. This is where buyers took control. As you guys can see with this long candlestick that we have right here, this is where the buyers took control. At first, we were getting smaller candlesticks. You know, we did see a change in direction, a sharp change in direction, but it wasn't enough to really push this market up. But right here, this is where buyers took control. That's where our demand area will be at. So we mark it up. So this will be a pretty big demand area. I don't really like to mark them up this big, but just to give you guys a visual, look, came into this zone, bought up, came into this zone, now it's going back up. So once I saw that, I did close out with my profits, and we still collected a great amount of profit, even though it didn't smash our TP. So that was a great trade for USD CHL. All right, now on to the last setup that we did end up taking, which was Gbp CHF. Now, again, came up to our supply area. We were in for a sale on this trade, and I'm gonna show you guys where I got my supply area and what made me want to hop in this trade. So right here, as you guys can see, this is a very strong area of resistance right here. A very strong area of resistance. Now, I told you guys I don't like to enter on a trade on more than 3 retouches. Like once it retouched 2 to 3 times, I'm not entering in after that. So this time we were able to get a little bit lucky and able to collect profits before this trade reversed and hit our stop loss. But this is where I marked up my supply area, and this is why I marked it up, because as you guys can see, it coming to this area every time, sell off. Came to this area right here, sold off. So we enter on the third one, and I wasn't expecting like a big sell-off, to be honest. As you guys can see, I'm only trading on a 2-to-1 ratio, but I wasn't expecting like a major sell-off. I just wanted to collect a little bit of profit, and I usually trade on a 3-to-1 ratio, but this time I did 2-to-1 as I said, and we ended up taking an entry on Gbp Chl at 26,193. So we took an entry at 26,193, and once I started suspecting this EMA, it did not want to close below it, and it kept on wicking out at it. That is when I ended up closing out of the trade, and I was able to close out at 0.53. So we were able to come out with profit. Wasn't a lot of profit, but profit is profit, as I said. Now, you have to be grateful for the small profits in order to get to the big ones. So we ended up closing that trade with a win and able to end our week off and profit, because we took a lot of wins this week, honestly. We had our fair share of losses as well, but majority wins when it comes to Forex. And I was very satisfied with it, honestly. A lot of back testing this week. Saw what did work, what didn't work, what setups work and what don't. And I'm very excited to see what this next week brings as I apply what I've learned from last week. And now let's get to this bag. And as you guys can see right here, I do want to show you guys this before I end off the video. But look, I feel like this supply area is now going to become a demand area, because look at how this candlestick did. Look at the wicks that are in this area now. So at first it was wicking out and selling off. Now it's wicking out and buying up. You guys see that? So maybe this area is going to become a demand area now and continue to buy up, which it looks like it is. It finally has closed above our supply area. So that's a confirmation that the market is going to buy up. And we may get some opportunities to enter into this trade. We're going to see in the future. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it and was able to learn from it, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on those bell notices, because we have a lot more knowledge drop. And I'm very excited for the things that we have coming out in the future, because I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I have a challenge that I'm going to attempt to try. Well, I'm going to attempt to do, and it's going to be crazy. I'm not going to lie. This challenge is going to be crazy. It's going to be something that I've never done before, but I'm very excited to see how it turns out, because I'm confident in my skills. I know what I can and can't do, and I know that this is something that I can do. But like I said, turn on those bell notices to know when that challenge come out, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video.